Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 100 in the book of the Gospel of John. So, yesterday, Jesus has been washing the disciples' feet, and it even included Judas, who interiorly says, Hey, I have this interior, intentional, ongoing rebellion against God. And figuratively, he says to Jesus, You're never going to wash my feet, and he sticks with it. And he's during dinner, during the foot washing even, he does some evil heart work while at dinner. He doesn't betray Jesus at dinner, but he does at least mull it over and decide to betray Jesus at dinner and the foot washing. And that foot washing also includes Peter, who says at first, similarly, You're never going to wash my feet. But then after, Jesus rebukes him and says, If I don't wash your feet, you have no share with me. In other words, Jesus says this is essential and critical and necessary, so we must let the Lord of all serve us in this way. We must let Jesus wash our feet. So first Peter says never, and then he says, well, how about right now? So Peter changed his mind about something very important. So from yesterday, you go from you must have your feet washed. Now, here it is in John chapter 13. Read along with me. I'm going to start in verse 8. Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. And Jesus answered, If I do not wash you, you have no share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but my hands and my head as well. Verse 12, I'm going to skip down. When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If then your Lord and teacher have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should also do just as I have done to you. So yesterday was kind of like, we must have our feet washed. And then in other words, that's saying, I'm a sinner. I need help. Jesus is the sin cleanser, and I'm going to go to him and say yes. And today he asks us to do the next thing, which is, I'm washed, I'm clean, I'm saved, but I'm not stationary. So what's next? What's on the agenda? Well, it's to be like Jesus. He says specifically, you should do as I have done to you. You also ought to wash one another's feet. So he's saying, find somebody to serve. Find somebody who's dirty, a knucklehead, who spiritually stinks, who spiritually poops in their pants. Who needs their feet washed? Well, it's the dirty. So the protest yesterday from Peter was, hey, you're never going to wash my feet. And the protest today is from people off the page, which is, I'm never going to wash their feet. Nobody in my church. So having your feet washed by Jesus is absolutely essential. It's one of the pillars of Christianity. It's one of the must-dos. In fact, Jesus says, if I do not wash you, you have no share with me. So you cannot be a Christian without Jesus having washed your feet. This is that personal and saving service that is done from the Savior to you. So having your feet washed is the ultimate blessing by Jesus. So now what? Well, are we blessed so we can just sit on our tukish and I'd say, I made it, I'm in the kingdom, I'm adopted by the king, my sins are taken care of, I'm good? No. Jesus says and challenges him, says, do you understand what I've done to you? If I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. So in the big picture, we can't wash another's sins away. That's obviously definitely part above our pay grade. But what is not above our pay grade is the service part. It's step one after you walk into the door of a church on day one. So service is the engine that makes the church run. And his service to us is the engine that makes us run to service. So his washing and his service makes my service possible. So the charge today is find somebody to serve. Find somebody who needs their feet washed. It won't be hard. Find someone who's having a hard job, who's having some difficulty. You will not make it through the lobby of the church if you open your eyes towards someone to serve. So one of the big points today is let's assess our service. And if you're not serving sacrificially, the one another's in your church, then please refer to the service that Jesus did for you. He exampled this. He did the heavy lifting. And I and you are supposed to imitate that. If I'm not imitating Jesus in some sort of a sacrificial, inconvenient, tiresome service towards relatively uncooperative people, then work on your understanding of the service that Jesus has done for you. So sometimes I've heard this criticism. It's like, hey, I don't know what my spiritual gift is. Well, in this passage, quite definitively, Christ himself tells you, you have the gift of service. You have the gift of foot washing. So service is the engine that makes the church run, and remember that his service to us is the engine that makes us run to that service. And that's the charge today, is let's all run to the service. So yesterday they were protesting by saying, Jesus, you're never going to wash my feet. And today the protest is, we see this all the time in the church, is Jesus, I'm never going to wash their feet, the people of the dirty feet people in my church. But Jesus says, no, I had the gift of service for you, and you have the gift of service. I am giving you this gift of service. Says who? Says Jesus. So today the charge is to go and find some feet to wash. It won't be hard. Thanks for listening.